Greetings, I'm Demonac, and it's arena time. So I managed to win my first game with my Druid deck here. I feel like it's a fairly well-rounded arena deck. It's not like crazy awesome, but it's certainly not bad either. It's pretty heavily concentrated with 2-cost minions, which is pretty good for the early game. It gives me a better chance of at least having a decent start. But it's also heavily concentrated in 4 and 5-cost cards, which are pretty strong cards, and yet they're still cheap enough that they are going to come up, and that a lot of the main gameplay tends to happen at that point. I don't have to wait for 7 or 8 mana to do hardly anything, basically just this guy. Now, I looked at my deck and I ended up with 7 rares. You're only guaranteed 4 in the arena, but that's not as big as an advantage as it might sound. First off, some people get way more. I don't think I have any epic cards, I don't have any legendaries, so there is some crazy stuff you can end up with. But it's really important to note that when Blizzard builds cards, they have sort of a point system. Now, they adjust things up and down based on how they work out, based on their internal testing. But the fact is, cards that have cost of 2 have a certain amount of points, so they can have they have 5 points of stats and an ability is almost always what they have, unless there's some kind of drawback or something else weird. We're going to get rid of the most expensive card. Because of the way my deck is, I already have a 2-cost thing. 4 is not that bad. I'm only going to get rid of 1 guy. Just hope I get something cheaper, but I'll be okay with these. That's not too bad. But yeah, you expect a certain amount of stats for the cost and an ability that does something. In my turn, because I have no 1-cost plays, that's for sure. But a rare card doesn't get more points, doesn't get more stats than a common card. The difference that you tend to find is that rare cards tend to be a little bit more complex. Here, I'm going to play this. I'm going to save the Mad Bomber in case I need to kill something. I'm going to play the Bluegill, which means I'm not getting to use his charge ability to kill something, but I am getting a little bit of early damage in there. Just, I don't know, put pressure on. A rare card has basically the same amount of points worth of abilities and stats as a common card of the same casting cost. But the rare cards are more complex generally, and they have they often have abilities that are more sort of combo based, they tend to have a lot more advantages and drawbacks that sort of balance out, whereas your common cards are usually a little bit more straightforward. And the fact is, those straightforward common cards are often really good. So, in the arena, the fact that your opponent got more rares or legendaries or whatever isn't really as big a factor as it might seem like. It's more about which ones they got. Whether they got ones that work well together, ones that are a little bit, that may be stronger in this format, because you don't always have the cards that a constructed deck would have to deal with certain problems. Let's see. So I can kill him with my Tiger. It'll only have 1 hit point left. But it seems like the best thing to do. I could play this guy, silence the Voidwalker, and attack for more damage. Which might not be bad. I could also use my Kung Fu here, along with the Bluegill. The Bluegill would die, but I could kill that and then hit for 4, and there'd be nothing left to play. I think what I'm going to do, though, the straightforward thing is to just kill it like this. Which means I'm not doing that much damage to my opponent. But I'm going to play the Twilight Drake, because his toughness is equal to the number of cards I have in hand, counting himself. Like, that's why he always has at least 1. The longer I wait to play him, if I keep playing more cards, the smaller he'll get. Now, if I'm only playing 1 card per turn, which is quite possible, he'll sort of even out. But usually you want to play him earlier, unless, if you're a Warlock, you might want to just sit there and draw more cards and not play as many in order to get him really big. It's an option. It's not necessarily the best idea. So, this guy will be good if I have multiple minions out later on. I'm worried because usually you don't end up with this much stuff in play. I'm worried that he's going to do something crazy and kill them all. kind of area spell. It's definitely not worth wasting my Starfall just to blow up a 2/4 here. But if I don't, my choice, I have to think about it, right? Because I can just kill him with my Panther. My Panther will die, but it'll get rid of him, and I'll have the only stuff in play. That's pretty good. I can choose to kill him with my Twilight Drake, which on the surface makes more sense. But that'll reduce it from 5 hit points down to 3, which means that if he casts as a Warlock card that just does 3 damage to everything, both players, all minions, if he had that, that would kill this guy. Whereas if I get rid of this in some other way and keep this guy at 5 hit points, he's a little bit safer. Warlocks have several cards that do 4 damage. At 5 hit points, he's safe from them. So even though it might seem not the greatest move, I'm going to do this. Sort of keep control of the board here. And I'm going to play the Silvermoon Guardian. I don't like you leaving mana unspent, but you got to make the best move that you can make. Once you've played the game more, you start thinking a little bit further ahead, and you start. One of the keys is learning more of the cards and learning what different classes can do, because your opponent might have different strategies. He's drawn a lot of cards, which makes me kind of worried, but on the other hand, he's down to half his health already. This is a fairly big guy. Now, if I use the Innervate card, it's like the coin, it'll give me more mana, but it's actually more. So I'd be wasting 1 mana anyway, but I could do this and get out my Stormwind Champion now while I have all these guys out. Is it really that good, though? Because he would do 5 damage, which isn't enough to kill him. He'd do 4. I could trade him and this. This guy's going to be a 3/2 if I do that. It feels like I'm spending too much stuff. I'd really like to get rid of him and not spend as much of like my bubble with losing guys and stuff like that. Now, one thing that you want to do, anytime he gets even remotely close, even if there's any possibility that you might be able to kill your opponent right now, you should check for that. You check for lethal damage, basically. So if I played him and silenced this guy, he'd lose taunt. I could hit for 3, plus 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can't do enough damage that way. So I guess I'm going to do the Stormwind Champion because I ran out of time thinking and talking. So this way I am going to lose my Buzo there. But it's just before I ran out of time. It gives you just a little tiny bit of extra time at the end, but don't count on it. You have to be careful. Running out of time is a serious problem because you can, once that ticker count, can't talk. Once that timer starts counting down and is burning the fuse there, it stresses you out, so you don't think as well often. And you still have to deal with the time that takes for some cards have animations that take a while to process. And while that's happening, you can actually just run out of time. So now he has 11 hit points. If I can get rid of this guy without using any of these minions that I have in play, I can hit him for 15. He's way dead. And it turns out that I have enough mana to do that. Because if I use my Shapeshift ability, I'm going to take a bunch of damage. Because he has to hit me back, right? But I'm going to take 4, but I knock out his bubble by doing 1 damage to it. Now I can Starfall, deal full 5 damage to him. He's dead. And the rest of my guys have a clear path to the Warlock's face. Anytime the game's even remotely close, you want to check for lethal. You probably don't want to spend as much time talking about it as I do in the videos. It sort of pushes you there, but no, that game was pretty fast. I guess games with Warlocks tend to be a little bit faster because they're killing themselves with their ability and getting more cards. Either they're going to kill you because they've drawn so many more cards, or it's going to come around and bite them in the rear because they've taken a bunch of extra damage, plus you were trying to do damage to them and you win.
Malfurion versus Malfurion.
When I'm recording, I like to do one game after I build the deck, because it's kind of silly to do a whole video without playing a game, but then I do 2 games per video. So we're going to do one more here. I'm tempted to keep him in my starting hand because I have 4. I'm going second, so I have an extra card here to work with. And I already have 2 cheap minions. I've got another one that's kind of in between. I might almost want to pitch him and see what else I get. But he is incredibly strong for 5 mana. That's why he has a drawback. So if I play him on turn 5, or if I saved my coin and played him on turn 4, that's kind of scary. So I'm tempted to do that. You know what? I think I'm going to get rid of the Spellbreaker and see if I get something else, like a spell that might kill minions, or Bite. That would be a good example. I'll probably end up coining out one of my 2-cost things right away. Although, it's not that easy a choice, right? If I coin out my Murloc Tidehunter, you look at what's he going to do with his second turn. He'll have 2 mana, because he went first. He's going to be 1 mana ahead of me the whole game. 2 mana he can spend, he can activate Shapeshift, and he can do 1 damage, which would kill either one of these Murlocs, the 2/2 or the 1/1 that comes with it. And even if he kills the 2/2, he's taking 2 damage, but that's kind of negated, that's reduced, I should say, by the 1 armor he gets. So really, he's killing most of the card that I put out there, and it's not costing him any cards. So I'm not sure that's so great. I could coin her out, but I don't get to use her ability, and having a 2/3 probably still be good. I'm torn though. I think I'm going to take a risk and just let it go. One thing is probably clouding my judgment is, if for some reason I still had the coin in my hand, and I got to 5 mana, the coin counts as a spell, so I could use it to draw a card from him. Now, in practice, that's never going to happen. I'd use the coin to play this guy first. See, I'm kind of... Wow. That was exceedingly unlucky.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. There were only 2 targets it could hit, me and him, but all 3 coin flips went the wrong way for him. Now, if I had played this and had those 2 1-toughness creatures out there, there's a much better chance that damage would have hit them instead of him, right? And probably would have killed them, so I'm kind of glad I didn't play him there. But I am sort of on defense now. We're going to play him anyway. He can still use this ability and kill one of them, but that'll leave him with 1 mana left. He probably can't do anything with it, so it would basically take his whole turn. It's probably worthwhile. It's still not costing the card. It's still killing one of these guys, and he has a bigger creature in play. But, no, he's going to play the Acolyte of Pain instead. You have to watch out for these guys. This is one of those things, knowing what cards your opponent is using is a big deal. Just being able to recognize, every time this guy takes damage, my opponent's going to draw a card. If this guy is hit for 10, my opponent will draw 1 card, and the Acolyte will die. But if I killed him with these 2, I'd have to hit him twice. That's 2 separate hits. So he'd draw 2 cards, and he'd take out both my weenies, because these are really weak creatures. That's not very good. Now, there's some interesting things. If I use my coin to play the Brewmaster now, I could bounce this guy back to my hand, and when I played him again, I would get to use Battlecry again, so I'd get another 1/1. That's kind of cool. This guy didn't have a casting cost, but if you look at him, his token is still a card that has a casting cost. So if this got bounced to my hand for some reason, I could play it again for free, which is also not a bad option with him. I could attack first, then bounce one of these guys, and then play him again later. That's pretty cool, but it's not looking like what I'm going to do right now. I'm thinking... I really don't want to use my coin. But if I don't, this guy is going to get to draw extra cards, so... Yeah, this is probably a dumb move, but I'm... Oh, oops, I'm running out of time. I'm going to bite him, and kill this guy, and attack. You can try and queue up those moves, and usually it works. I'd already told it to do those things before time ran out. But it's risky business. You will run out of time, and anything you didn't click in time, it's not going to happen, and you're going to be really mad. That was not a great use of Bite, but because the Acolyte of Pain only did 1 damage, I still have 3 armor left. Armor sticks around. Armor is just more hit points. The only difference between armor and regular hit points is your actual hit points can't go above 30. That's your maximum. Armor can go as high as you want. And of course, for a warrior, they have some cards that do special things that interact with their armor. They have a spell that deals damage to a minion equal to the amount of armor they have. So they have reasons to try and build up more armor. I bet when they do expansions, there'll be some more things like that. I'd be shocked if they don't make a card later on that gets stronger if you have, say, 4 or more armor. That'd be pretty cool. But anyhow, I've got 4 mana now. Unfortunately, I used my coin, so I can't play Gigantor here. He has a drawback anyway, though. It's not too bad to get out some other things beforehand. Now, for 4 mana, I could play this and use this. That's not a very good use of my mana right now, though. I'm going to play the Ancient Brewmaster. Because I don't have any other minions in play, his battle cry just fails. So, he's a 5/4 for 4 with no drawback. And that is very good. 9 stats for 4 mana is quite good. But, see, my opponent's going to use his bite to kill this. He's still going to take 1 damage past the armor. But, that's well worth it. He only took 1 damage, and he killed a creature that was going to hit him for 5 every turn until he dealt with it. Yeah, he's like, oops, because he used that afterwards, but it doesn't actually matter. Since his attack was big enough to kill that anyway, the extra 1 point of attack from his ability wouldn't matter. And the extra armor, it doesn't matter if he has armor or hit points, they're both the same. But it does bring up an interesting point. With Bite, and there's some similar cards to Bite that Druids have, you can use Shapeshift, right? Shapeshift doesn't make the attack. It just gives you +1 attack and +1 armor. You can use that, and then you can use Bite, and you have 5 attack and 5 armor, and then make your attack. So that's pretty cool. Now, it's tempting not to play him right away, because I have so many minions in my hand, his drawback might get in the way. But I'm going to do it anyway, because he's big and scary. It's not easy to do 6 damage in 1 card. Druids have a couple cards that do 5 damage. 6 is a lot. That's a pretty rough creature. This guy costs 7, and he looks like a 5/5, but you get to choose whether he gets +5 attack when he comes into play, or the +5 health and taunt. They always choose the taunt, because usually a creature having higher defense will do more for you than higher offense. It is if the stats are close. You'd rather have a 4/5 than a 5/4 most of the time, just because it might take your opponent more cards to kill it. As long as it's dealing a decent amount of damage already. And 5, this guy already does 5 damage, so giving him more damage is awesome if he can hit me directly, if he can hit your opponent directly. But most of the time for killing other minions, you'd rather just have more toughness so he can fight more than once. Now I've got the drawback from this guy, and he buffed his Ancient further, so he has like a billion hit points. I could swipe it, and that would do 4. That would bring it down to 8. This guy still couldn't kill it, which is pretty sick. Of course, you notice the casting cost of all these minions changed in response to his drawback. He says, my minions cost 3 more. Unlike a physical paper CCG, it can actually change the cost on the cards. What am I going to do, though? I don't really want to, but I'm going to trade him there. And I'm just going to play 2 things. I hope he doesn't have an area spell. But he can hit me for 7, and I'm still going to have to deal with this guy before I can get through him. You never know, though. I might get something that gave me spell power. I don't think I have many. I don't think I got any spell damage creatures in here. But there are some creatures that give +1 spell damage would have let me get through that until he healed them. And then, holy, he's putting out a lot of crazy taunt stuff. Man. So I can't attack this guy because there are other minions with taunt on my opponent's side. But because there are 2 with taunt, they're equally taunted, right? I could choose which one I attack each time. The fact that he healed that is getting kind of sick, though.
I wonder.
So, if I play the Stormwind Champion, these guys would get +1/+1. He'd be a 3/4, and he'd be a 5/3. That's still only 8 damage. That's not even enough to kill this thing. Now, technically, it is. Because if I attack with this one first, that would do 5 damage. This guy would die, and the ghoul gets +1 attack permanently whenever any minion dies. So then he would do 4, and I could barely kill this between the two of them, and I'd still be left with just a 6/6 against these two. That's probably what I have to do. The swipe is pretty tempting, though. If I swipe him... dang it. I don't think I can do that. I don't think the order's going to work out for me. Oh, let's try. It's really dumb doing this without doing the math first. He dies. He gets bigger. He dies. He gets bigger. He dies. That was not too bad. Aha, it was too slow. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to waste her ability but get her out, which I should have done, or whether I'd just spend the mana on this.
I'll put it on your tab.
Oh, that's annoying. See, he returns his Argent Crusader, Defender Vargas to his hand. Now he can just play him again right away and give +1/+1 in taunt to this guy. Or he might even just play something else, so the next turn he can give 2 of them taunt and +1/+1. Get the most use out of it. So that's pretty rough. I have both of these guys but no spells. That is too bad, because they're so good with spells. Wish I had enough mana to do him and her. I guess it wouldn't help that much.
I wonder.
I do wonder. I'm not in a good place because he has a lot of fighting power out there to attack with, and I know that he's actually going to give them each +1/+1 with his defender next turn. Drop it in between. We'll have a 6/5 taunt and a 4/4 taunt. Killing him would be nice. It's probably not a good play. Normally when you play this guy, you choose the taunt, because like I said before, having higher defense is usually better. He doesn't get any attack bonus from charge, although it would let him attack right away. But he's going to get his butt kicked anyway when these guys buy like a 6/5 panda. So I'm going to give him charge. I can only attack the one that has taunt, right? But I'm going to do that. My guy survives. And then I'm going to give my guy taunt with the Sun Fury Protector. This is not as good as it seems, because at this point, my opponent can just spend 2 mana, use his Kung Fu here, and kill this himself. He would take 4 damage, but then his giant Panda Brewmaster has the run of the place. Yeah, that doesn't work, buddy. He's looking... You can see where you have a person pointing, because they really wanted to emulate the feel of a physical game. Yeah, Claw was totally wasted there. It's another spell that boosts his armor and his attack, but he only needed 1 attack. He could get that armor later. There was no reason to use it then, so that was actually kind of a bad move. He's probably still going to win, based on the way things are going, though. My life is lower, and there's a lot of stuff out there. Did he forget to attack with this? No, he hit me. I think he hit me before he buffed it, which is kind of silly. It's definitely causing me problems. I am in severe trouble. So I can play one of these guys, and I can play this. Whichever mode I choose, it'll still draw me a card, because it still counts as a spell, even if I make it a minion. But I'm going to take at least 10 damage next turn, and there's really nothing I can do about it, because I can't kill him. And of course, he's in the way, so I can't attack this guy.
What?
Dang. Well, I'm going to give this a try. These guys are considered so obnoxious that my opponent might waste more time killing him than he probably should. And I could give him +1/+1. I don't think it helps that much. I think having another minion out is probably better. Especially just in case it gives me another thing surviving for him. That is the card I was hoping to draw. I only have 1 Wrath, I think. But it's one of the few cards that I can still cast here. It's going to draw me a card if I cast it with him alive. And I could blow up this guy. It'd be nice to soften him out, because he's obnoxiously large. I would reduce him to 4 hit points. Not damaging something without killing it is not great. I'm going to actually blow this one up because it's going to reduce the amount of damage he can do to me. All the while, that might be good later, but I could have attacked with her, but she would have just died. I feel like I didn't want to do that on my turn. Wow, more incredible hugeness. See, this is the thing about fat creatures. If you can survive long enough to just start playing a fat creature every turn, like a 7 or 8 cost creature, or just anything large, it can be very hard to recover from that. Although we're going to see what I can do, because Savage Roar makes a big difference in my killing power here. So, when I play this, I'm going to draw a card from him. And he'll do 6, she'll do 4, he'll do 5, and I can do 2, although I can't afford to attack either of them. I'll just die. But 6 plus anything would kill this. So if I had him out, it would be 7, 6, and 5. So the 7, he could trade and kill that. I'd still have to trade both of these guys to get rid of that, but I'd be left with a Stormwind Champion, and he'd have nothing. I have just enough mana to do that, so I think that's what we're going to do. I don't want to spend too long and confuse myself. Well, that'll be a good card for later, although this late in the game he's going to be kind of small.
Behold the might of Stormwind!
There's some buffs. And I still got 2 attack from the Roar as well, so I might as well hit him.
My thanks to you.
People that watch me normally are like, why does he keep using emotes? Normally the first thing I do when I start a game is squelch my opponent. You right-click on them, and it gives you that option, and it's like mute. They just won't be. You won't see any of their emotes, except the automatic emotes. Like, as you take, if you're taking a lot of time on your turn, they'll do sort of a or I'm thinking about this sort of emote, which is, it just gives you a feel for the passage of time. It's not that bad to have. I cannot take much more damage, so I definitely want to Mark of the Wild something. And that being the case, I'm going to play my second Auctioneer here. I'd rather spread out the power, but if I put the buff on him, he can use it to attack right away. I'd rather give taunt to this guy, honestly, but we're going to do it this way anyhow. I'm going to draw a card from casting that. Not the best card, but I'll take it. I'm not going to play him because 3 of the 4 targets in play are me and my guys. It's not going to help me. So I'm just going to hit him for 8, and shapeshift, and give him some kung fu to the face. So I'm still kicking. That 1 armor might make a big difference, because there are a couple Druid spells that do 5 damage. Most of the Druid spells don't damage players. Wrath and Starfall. But Starfire, or whatever one, the animation is like dropping a moon on something. Or meteor, I suppose. There is one Druid spell that does 5 damage to any target, including a player, and if you drew one of those, I would just die. So, I gotta do what I can here to keep in the game. I think what I'm going to do is... This is a waste of his silence ability. But I don't want to leave anything out there that my opponent could buff, or... who knows what could go wrong. I don't want to find out. I don't want to use this to kill something. It's way too random. But I'm going to... I could use my Kung Fu. I really want to gain armor with it, though. So I'm going to waste the silence to get rid of the bubble. The bubble is just like any other card text. So you silence a card, it basically loses all its text. So he would lose the buff, or okay, that's a bad example. He would lose his ability to grant bonuses to all my other guys, and he would lose the +2/+2 he's getting from my spell, and the taunt. He would turn him into just a 6/6. But anyhow, I've got that now. Now I can play the Elven Archer and snipe that thing, just to make sure it's gone. I'm going to attack. Attack some more. Theoretically, I could get lucky and kill him with this, but I'm not that lucky. I'm just going to do another 1 damage and gain an extra hit point, because it could matter. it's becoming less and less likely that he can kill me through my army. But he's got 2 cards. You never know what someone could do with 2 cards. Ooh, if he has 2 swipes, he could do them both to me and I would die. Doesn't look like that's the case, though. He's probably just going to cast whatever else he has and then give up.
I can see.
Okay, he's going to give up first. A lot of people like to play all their stuff and sometimes kill themselves, or people don't like to wait around for your turn just to save themselves time or whatever. But no, that's pretty good. I am 3-0. If you're playing in the arena and you're not getting this far, don't let it get to you. Because remember, first off, I've played a lot of arena. I did record 50 entire arena runs before this. Some of them got pretty far, a couple of them not so much. But you have to remember, every time someone plays a game, one person loses, one person wins. Ties are theoretically possible. It doesn't happen very often at all. I don't even think I've seen it in the arena. But one person wins and one person loses. So half of the people, by the time before they get to 3 wins, or certainly before they get to 4 wins, half of the people are going to have 3 losses. So if you're only getting, if you're going 1-3 or 2-3, that's pretty normal. Most of the people in the arena are probably going 1-3 or 2-3 to make up for the few people who get like 12-2 or whatever. The people that have like huge winning streaks. So especially if you haven't played the arena all that much and you find you get 2 wins and then you get knocked out, it might be a little frustrating, but you got to play to learn, and just remember that probably 60% of the people that play, probably 60% of the arena runs that people play end with 2 wins or less. So anyway, I'm going to get to, I don't have any losses yet, so I'm definitely going to get to keep going for at least 2 more videos on this run, and hopefully I can make some more helpful commentary, but we'll have to find out next time. If you found that useful or entertaining, or if you enjoy cookies, hit the like button. And check out Tales from My D&D Campaign on youtube.com/Demonac.